Hello everyone, I'm Muffs and welcome to the Muffs ART-CHIVE. In this video, I'm going to be talking about everything I did in my first year of university and then ranking all of my subjects at the end of the video. I want to start by giving you guys some context. So, I actually was supposed to be in the second year of this course, but I changed universities, I changed courses over the last year. So, in 2025, or 2024 and 2025, I was doing a global design bachelor's degree. I'm not going to name the universities, by the way, because I don't want any problems, and I also don't want to expose myself that much, but honestly, they're pretty easy to find and to associate with what I'm about to describe. But anyway, that global design course wasn't really my thing. I was very frustrated with the projects, with the teachers, and I overall just felt like it was an English course, but then some of the teachers didn't really know how to communicate with the class, and I was one of the only Portuguese students, because yes, I'm from Portugal, and most of the students from my class, for example, I was one of the class presidents, were foreigners that did not speak good Portuguese. So how are you giving an English course without really knowing English and without knowing how to communicate properly with foreign students? Anyway, I also didn't really like the projects because I felt like the teachers only thought about the commercial side of artistic media, and I couldn't really be like creative or alternative or experimental. I mean, as much as I liked, at least. So I ended up retaking some of the Portuguese national exams, and I entered in my current course, which is multimedia arts. And I just want to start off by saying that I love my course. Despite all of the bad teachers and all of the shenanigans I'm going to describe throughout the video, I hope this video is just honestly something to keep for the future too. So not only a way to show you guys why I was so busy in the last few months and why I kind of had a tiny hiatus from this channel, but also a way of kind of storing online and keeping to myself and to everyone who decides to click on this video what I am doing in my bachelor's degree and all of the projects I created and that I was part of, obviously. So without further ado, let's talk about my first semester. And the first subject I'll be talking about is multimedia computing, where I had to make, besides exercises where we experimented and learned Godot and Blender, me and two of my other colleagues made a small video game, a 3D video game, about Van Gogh and his work, his project and his paintings called Sunflower. In this game you basically have to explore a small city we created from some of his most famous and just artworks we really like from him, and in this game you have to find 3 sunflowers. It's very simple, guys. It was supposed to be a very simple project. You have to find 3 sunflowers scattered throughout the map, and then once you pick each sunflower you learn a bit about his story as an artist and as a person. And since he's a very popular artist, we know that, I mean, you as a viewer probably know who he is, a bit about his story and his paintings without me needing to go into detail. So yeah, I sadly don't have a high quality screen record of the game, so you're going to see very bad quality footage of the game working and running on our computers, our laptops. But I just had so much fun with the 3D modeling process, honestly. I learned so much about Blender because of this project, but I'm still a beginner. Then I had the digital art subject, where we had to do 3 exercises or small projects. The first one was an abstract photography montage, where we had to photograph things that I guess we liked, or in this case, they had specifically to be part of our everyday lives. And while doing our montage, we had to pick them apart and trying to make them a bit more abstract than they originally seem. So if you photograph a chair, you can use the entire chair, because then that's too obvious and it's not abstract. That's what I did. You're seeing it on screen right now. I really liked it, but my teacher didn't really give me a good grade on this one. No, it wasn't a bad grade, but not ideal. Not an ideal one. Then we had to do a sound distortion exercise, and this one was my highest grade during the digital arts subject, which surprised me a lot because I wasn't really confident with this one. We had to use Audacity and create an amalgamation of sounds we recorded throughout our day, or just, you have to be our own recordings, of course, but we created a bunch of sound distortions and mixed them up together to create a 1-minute audio that the teacher evaluated, and I had a 17 on that one. Our grading system goes from 0 to 20, so a 17 is a very high grade. And then from that audio, we had to create a video that was, again, abstract and experimental with a lot of cuts, and we had to associate certain clips with certain sounds we used. I also really liked that one, and I had a 16 on that video. But anyway, I'm not gonna go in full detail about grades, I don't think that's necessary. Then, and this was one of my biggest disappointments, we had the comic art subject. We had 3 projects. The first one was we had to tell a story without text and only 4 squares as our grid, as our comic grid. That's what I did. I really liked it. The teacher also really liked it, and it was my best project during this subject. Then we had to create a new page for a comic book, and of course, from a selection the teacher offered, and I chose Silence by Didier Gomez. I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly. I really liked this comic. It's very dark. And honestly, the drawings are so weird. Do you get what I mean? So weird, but I love them, especially because it's in black and white, and I'm a huge fan of black and white drawings and comic books. That's why I also really like manga, for example. And then we had to do a series of free exercises where we explored texts, abstract shapes, and objects to tell the same story. Again, it was from a selection of short stories the teacher gave us, and I don't remember the author of my story, of the story I picked, but it was about addiction and someone feeling very lonely while watching a movie and dealing with addiction. And honestly, I didn't really like this exercise. I liked the last one, the one where we only used objects, but I don't know, I didn't really feel like the teacher's feedback was useful, and then the fact that we could only use handwriting for the first exercise was so painful. So painful, because I don't really like my handwriting. I kind of despise it, but anyway, let's move on. Then I had History of Arts and Material Culture. In this case, this is a theoretical subject, so it does not count for this video. And my last subject for this semester was probably like one of the worst things I ever went through in my academic career or journey, whatever you want to call it, which was, and this name is very weird when translated to English, the experience of interaction. It's literally the weirdest and most confusing subject name ever, and we had an awful teacher. And by the way, the name is also weird in Portuguese, so anyway. Me and my group had to create a concept for a mascot horror escape room. In this case, everyone had to create like interactive experiences or exhibitions, and we decided to do an escape room. And in this case, we got a lot of inspiration from mascot horror games, and we made an escape room where the players would have to follow a bad character throughout many different puzzles and clues to solve a mystery and escape. My teacher was, oh my god, she was a bit obnoxious, and she didn't really... This is a very weird thing to say. I don't really want to speak ill about the teacher because I don't want to get in trouble, but this lady was very obnoxious and weird. She didn't really know how to speak and communicate with us. A lot of people in my group struggled to talk to her about our projects because she wouldn't understand anything, any of the ideas we would bring to her. She looked clueless all the time. It was almost as if she didn't really know what she was teaching us. Anyway, let's move on to my second semester, and starting off with one of the best subjects I've ever had in my entire life. And this one, I was so excited for this one. And I really hope I get this teacher again because he was impeccable, an impeccable teacher. So the digital drawing subject, where we did so much. I worked so hard for this subject, and it was such a pleasant experience. Really, like, I evolved so much and I got so much feedback from this teacher that was really useful and that I will take for the rest of my life. Oh my god. Anyway, we did a quick illustration about anything we'd like to draw. This was just so that the teacher could understand everyone's experiences in digital drawing, what programs everyone used, etc. Then we did a redraw of a TV series or a movie of choice, and in this case I chose a frame from Bad and Crazy, a K-drama, it's a Korean series about a cop that starts having these very weird visions about some guy called K. I'm not gonna say anything else because then it's a spoiler, and this series is so good and so interesting. I really recommend it. Then we had to do a quick pixel art animation. I chose to draw my cat Nala and the fact that she's a bit stubborn with pets. It's cute, it's small. It was the purpose of the exercise. Then a beginner-friendly Blender 3D animation, which was the animation I showcased and talked about during my last video. And our final project was, again, anything we'd like to do. In this case, I drew 8 pages for the first chapter of my comic Forever Ghosts. And the feedback my teacher gave me for the comic as a whole and these 8 pages of the comic that I delivered was so useful. He talked to me a lot about how to use my black and white color palette in a way to accent certain things and certain moods that I want to portray during the first chapter of the story and the comic itself as a whole. And I don't know, I just got so much motivation to keep working on this. And by the way, I'm sorry for such slow updates on the comic, but anyway, I'll try to release the full chapters soon. But really, this subject was so cool. And this teacher gave such good feedback that honestly, I don't really want to go into detail because then I would be rambling on for about an hour about how cool each detail he picked out from my drawings and my art style really helped me improve and see my own art through a different lens. Then we had a multimedia project, and this one is also a very special subject that went very well. And in this case, it's gonna be my first time, I think, talking about this on this channel, but I made a project called Project Heaven, and it was a K-pop dance project that I carefully crafted, and honestly my most ambitious project ever, like throughout the whole course. So I made an open call, got some dancers, we covered Taemin's Heaven, and I don't want to, again, keep rambling on about K-pop, because this is not really the objective of this channel. I have my main channel where I talk about all of my dance projects and K-pop as a whole, so if you want to check that out, go over to my main channel. But this project was so cool because I had so much stuff that I wanted to experiment and work on, and it all turned out so well despite all of the technical difficulties I had because of my quite old laptop. But anyway, I also was able to make some drawn or digital drawing elements and small animations for the project that were like just fit everything together. It just made everything look better and more fitting to my personal artistic way of expressing myself. I don't know if you can understand what I mean by this, but yeah, by the way, I don't mind showing my face on this channel, but yeah, that's me. That's me. I don't really hide my face on the internet, okay? You can find my face from my main channel. I have also showed my face on this channel, I think. Then I had the video editing subject, and I'm not going to show bits from the 2 videos we had to create because I didn't really like them, which was weird because I didn't really like them, but my teachers loved them for some reason. So like, okay, I basically tried to be more experimental with the way I edited the videos. I once again used dancing as the main topic of those 2 videos. I don't really know how, but my teachers really loved those 2 projects. So yeah, I'm glad they liked them, but if I were to ever publish them on my main channel, I'd still have to make a lot of changes so that they fit more of my personal liking. Then I had my photography subject, and this one was definitely the most controversial one out of all the subjects I had this semester, for a simple reason, okay? We had to do analog or film photography, okay? So no digital cameras, it was all old school photography. And honestly, people from my generation, us Gen Z, are not familiar with these methods. I had done film photography before, by the way, and during high school. I loved doing this subject and creating a portfolio, because like the main objective of the subject was that we had to deliver a portfolio with 15 photos of a theme we constructed and we built throughout the semester, and I loved doing this. I'm not joking, like I had so much fun going into the lab and creating all of the photos after, you know, photographing them with my old camera from my stepmother, actually. But anyway, I had so much fun during this subject, but my teachers were so infuriating and they were so annoying and so unhelpful that it reached a point where their assistant, their 22-year-old assistant, was basically our teacher. I'm not joking, by the way. She was the one that taught me how to create better photos, how to manage all of the different machines and chemicals we had to use to create our photos and our project. So shout out to the 22-year-old assistant, because she was my teacher and she was so helpful. But then my actual teachers were, I don't even know what to tell you guys. I genuinely wish we had better teachers for this subject. But again, without going on for too long about what happened with these two teachers, they basically wanted everyone to do abstract photography. But what's the problem? They only told us that 1 month before the delivery. And if you didn't know, film photography is not cheap. The paper you have to use is so expensive, at least in Portugal, that I had to share it with 2 of my colleagues, because one box, because they're like sold in boxes, at least here in Portugal, one box of A5 paper, of I think 100 pages of A5 paper for film photography, was 100 euros. I am not joking. And basically what happened was they spent the whole semester saying you're free to do whatever you want for this photography project, and then right at the end flipped and said, oh my god, we don't like your projects, guys, you're going to start over. You're all gonna have to start over because we want abstract photography. And basically all of the classes turned against them, because like this is not a cheap subject, and then we have to pay for everything. So basically everyone I know refused to restart their project, so they're not gonna give us good grades. It was very upsetting, but anyway. And then I also had studies of media, but again, this was another theoretical subject, so it does not count for this video, and another subject where I absolutely despised the teacher because basically he gave good grades to everyone that used AI for the projects that we had to do, and it was all like theoretical writing. I don't think that's how it's called in English, but we had to do writing exercises about certain topics within media and history of art, in the history of arts in general. So it was very upsetting because the teacher is kind of old, and he was very impressed by people who wrote in such a professional level. And then I kind of found out with some of my other colleagues that we basically had very low grades. I had a 13 for this grade, by the way. But anyway, because I wrote everything by hand, or when it was with my computer, it was with no AI being used. And then a lot of my colleagues used AI to pass the subject, and then they had better grades than me and some of my colleagues that did everything in an honest manner. You know what I mean? Anyway, very upsetting, but it doesn't count for this video. Now let's finally go through the ranking of my subjects. And we're gonna go from last place to first place. So last and 8th place goes to the experience of interaction, simply because the teacher was not suitable for her job. I really liked my little silly guy, my bat, and the concept we created, because it was very fun, very Gen Z, very, I don't know, it was kind of trendy, following some of the matter horror trends of the last few years. I just think we did a good job, despite how confusing and weird everything about the subject was, simply because the teacher couldn't even talk to us properly without us looking at her and thinking, what is going on inside her head? Why can't she form a single phrase that makes sense? Anyway, then in 7th place we have comic arts. And again, because I didn't really like the project we developed, I don't think I evolved or learned anything from this subject. The teacher was not helpful too. And as someone who loves comic books and comic arts, I was very disappointed by this subject. Then we have digital arts in 6th place, and even though I kind of liked the way the teacher made us think and look at the digital art medium that we experienced and that we touched on in a more abstract manner, I think he was a bit too strict about it. And what I mean by this is that I don't think I was really able to understand what he wanted us to see by working with abstract media and abstract projects. Then we have the video editing subject in 5th place, and again, the teachers liked my 2 videos. I personally didn't really like my videos, so maybe it's me being picky, but anyway. In 4th place we have analog photography, or the photography subject, and again, it's such a shame because I loved doing it. I loved the whole process. I think it's very fun, it's very engaging, and so different from the experience we currently have with digital photography. So having such infuriating teachers was a disappointment, but overall I really liked my project, and I don't care if the teachers didn't like my project because I loved it. And now, to begin our top 3, we have Sunflower, the multimedia computing project. Again, I know it's a very poorly made video game, it's not incredible, it's not professional, it's a beginner project, student project that I'm honestly very proud of simply because I learned so much from it. Then in second place, I have the 8 pages of Forever Ghosts Chapter 1, which was for the digital drawing subject. And this one is kind of tied up with the first place, honestly, but there was just a single reason as to why I couldn't really put this one in first place or genuinely tied with the first place. It's because I think it's a shame that I couldn't do more pages. And I know it was a time conflict issue. It was a time issue. I'm completely aware of that because the teacher only put us into working on the final project during the last month of the semester, so from May to June, and with so many final essays and projects to deliver at the same time, I wasn't able to make more than 8 pages, but the minimum that the teacher wanted for everyone to do was at least 5 drawings, or in my case 5 pages. So even though I didn't make as much as I wanted, and of course the final release of the chapter will have way more pages than just 8, I'm still very proud of it. And again, it was a very helpful subject with a lot of good feedback, and honestly just a subject that serves as a good example as to why university is so important, in my opinion, why studying is indeed a privilege, but also something so important and something that a lot of people should value more. I mean, the current state of the educational system everywhere, or at least in Portugal, is not nice. I know that perfectly, but I still feel very privileged to be able to study something that I like, that I am enjoying this much, and to learn so much from people who can actually give you feedback and a way of evolving what you're doing. Anyway, that's honestly a discussion for another kind of video. So that leaves us with first place. That goes to, of course, Project Heaven from Multimedia Project Subject. Again, I don't have much to say, but it was such a pleasant and incredible experience to direct this entire dance project with so many talented dancers and with so many incredible people helping me in the behind the scenes. And I don't know, I just kind of felt like this was the best project I made this year, and since it was a project that I had a lot of time to develop, I didn't really feel pressured or anxious about it. It just went so well and smoothly. You get what I mean? And it's something that a lot of subjects should do too. If you want students to deliver such a huge and well-crafted project, don't make them start the project like 2 or 3 weeks before the finals or before the end of the semester. Make that project last longer, last through, in this case, 4 months, where I can carefully craft and prepare every step of the video, of course applied to this case of Project Heaven, because honestly, the thing about having so much time to work on it was the number one factor that made it so good and so dense and so complex. And again, I had a really good teacher that gave me a lot of good feedback to move forward with the project. Anyway guys, this is a very different video for my channel. I know, a very long one too, I think, kind of. I'm not really sure how long this video is, but I feel like I've been ranting for so long. But well, thank you again for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, support the rest of my content, check out the description and the comments for links to my comic and all of that stuff. Next year, I hope I can make another one of these for my second year of my multimedia arts bachelor's degree. Bye!